Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Again, quick reminder, if you are watching this time shifted, which you most likely are, don't forget to just fast forward past the yellow screen. The yellow screen is just there because I'm my own engineer. And I want to verify everything's working before I really get into it. Okay, so that said, let's put this over here. Looks healthy. All right, I think I'm getting ready to start. This is a pre-scripted episode, so I'm actually, I will be monitoring the comments. I don't expect any. I did no announcements, so I'm just going to be sending people links to this after, but I thought I'd do it live in the spirit of the thing, in case somebody wanted to jump in there and verify that I exist and this is real, and I'm not some AI pretending to be me, right? That was one of the risks I was thinking about with this show. One of the things I was thinking about when I created this live show almost 5 years ago. So, yeah, if deep takes were a thing for you then, they were for me. And being a bit of a prophet is kind of what this talk is all about. Not bragging. Actually, it kind of sucks. You don't really want to be a prophet. All right, let me not do the talk about the talk before the talk. And let me just go live. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Hello, I'm your host, Matthew Newhall, and this is a special episode of the Technocrat Live. I recently had a video of mine taken down from YouTube. Troublesome, but ineffective, as it was multicast to Odyssey as well. Nonetheless, the Technocrat Live is now becoming a victim of exactly the type of antisocial ethical abuse the Dystopia Report, the Technocrat Live's news segment, was built to discuss. The worst thing is, for a prophet, paranoid, or a specifically skeptical futurist, is to end up being right. I think there's a misconception about people who are accused of apophenia. Apophenia is seeing patterns everywhere. Now, every person is different, but this idea that pride and self-importance puts them, those would-be prophets, at the center of the universe couldn't be further from the truth. Allowing one's imagination, or more specifically, one's hopefully well-tuned subconscious risk engine, run into the darkest, least hopeful places takes a lot of effort. It's not something you want to do unless there's a benefit. Sure, first of all, the benefit may be ratings via popularity from the negative feedback network effect. Basically, where people popularize something because they fight over it. And there certainly are cases of both humans and algorithms who exploit this weakness at society's detriment and benefit from ill-gotten, successful social networks. Whenever you see a successful personality, please consider this possibility, especially if the popularity is sudden and contingent on abrasive or incendiary views. But there's a weakness with applying this logic to every outspoken person that any algorithm, like YouTube's, can easily accommodate. Reach! Popularity. It's a prerequisite to actionable damage in speech. People who are exploiting their audience usually don't suffer from small audiences. What would be the point? It doesn't matter if you shout fire in an empty theater. Further, it discounts all human social benefits of culture, intelligence, and education, which in turn aid people in discerning for themselves. Remember, teach a man to fish. What is true and what is not? It's infantilization at a hateful level and anti-learning through experimentation, critique, and subsequently anti-science policy. It reduces all people to simply passengers in the experience of the long series of events they might call their life. In other words, it changes people into permanent victims. That's what infantilization does. It victimizes everyone, especially the best of us. In my case, my crime was calling for disambiguation of a commonly used science term. My argument was it's used too often. This is a particular science discipline. This particular science discipline was suffering from a complexity horizon. A tech that changes so fast, human language can't keep up. These are all over the place, by the way. The social side effect of a complexity horizon is conflation. By the way, don't conflate data. Wait. Are you still asking what conflation is? Anyone who uses a spreadsheet knows how this works. When you jam many different types of information into a field, it makes the spreadsheet less useful or even entirely useless. There's no way that anyone who doesn't know this would be working as a programmer of YouTube's algorithms, full stop. They must know what conflation is. A professional human would know this. So it's clear my video was taken down because I triggered an algo reading a percentage of words on a word list. Like I said, anti-science. In this case, both biology and computer science itself. But back to the role of the malign prophet. Many, if not most of, the successful people with something to lose will stretch themselves to learn about how things work and where things are going before everyone else. These are the clients of those malign prophets, skeptics, or skeptics with game. You might be inclined to say, boo-hoo, some poor risk taker has less information before he takes his risk. But the problem is, all systems of any utility or novelty, or any system where you're counting on other people, any modern civilization bigger than a few dozen people needs those risk takers and the decision makers that depend on their deep dives. You can't survive without decision makers, and they can't survive without a risk-aware take on the pertinent information to their task at hand. Right? Do you understand what I'm saying here? The people who are making the decisions are depending on the malign prophets. They need them. They absolutely can't function without them. They can't deep dive on everything. Leadership isn't that level of specialization. These are the specialized generals to their general, overall, sweeping 1,000-mile view leadership. Infantilization executed as censorship doesn't just insult society, culture, and civilization itself. It attacks it. Censorship attacks a critical process to any leadership in civilization, which, by the way, has the benefit of protecting those with power already, and those who make wasteful use of that power. A coincidence, I'm sure. Being a technocrat with access to large amounts, if not superior amount of data about human behavior does not make you godly enough to dismiss all structures of human interaction. It just makes you another interested party in what the prophets have to say. Thinking you're more ethical than a social process you haven't even attempted to emulate is setting yourself up to fail in a way that will hurt everyone. Risk is complex, and it's very hard to model unless you've already suffered the consequences of a particular exploit of that system. Here's a simple, accurate analogy for the technocrats who don't understand this point of view, who don't understand what I'm saying. If risk needs both investors, in my analogy, this would be software makers, right? Everybody understands what a software company employing developers does, if they can even vaguely claim to be a technocrat. And profits, cybersecurity penetration and analysis teams, cybersecurity wouldn't be a continual arms race. In other words, if cybersecurity cybersecurity penetration and analysis teams create cybersecurity to do risk analysis, and if there was no risks, if we had those risks locked down, and there was no reason to have malign prophets, people that look for bugs or exploits or loopholes you can drive a truck through in remote exploits on operating systems, things like that. Cybersecurity wouldn't be a discipline. It would be a history lesson. Thinking you're smarter than all the people, past, present, and future, does not make you clever or heroic. It makes you the ultimate defector against civilization itself. You attack those who perform the best and subsequently have the most to offer by forcing them out of their role. The role of examining some small subset of risk, both with the input from data and from the prophet who analyzed it. You do it claiming to love humanity, but you don't believe in humanity's best attributes in any functional way. That's not love. What can you do differently as an investor and hopefully as an accidental profit supplanter? Okay, you're the technocrat, you've gotten my message, you want to repent. Also known as a technocrat run amok. Recognize that there are unforeseen and unforeseeable elements to risk. That the human process has an incalculable benefit to risk analysis. Incalculable. And that claiming not only have you calculated it, but additional calculators will not be considered is an attack on life itself. That's why the best prophets consider enduring the sadness and social stigma they receive when they focus on the risks of dystopia. It's a negative but critical process far afield from the false prophets that get popular starting fights. They're the rabble rousers, the troublemakers. They're pretending to be those prophets. You can't just wipe out all the prophets and just to get at all the troublemakers. You're destroying civilization. What are you doing? The only available uniformity is a uniformity of disconnect and failure. If you discount outliers, you don't find errors. What can I do different as a prophet or as a part-time investor? I'm talking specifically me here, but there's no reason others can't imitate me. I will intentionally push myself to the fringe of video networks, leaving hooks and plugs behind on censored networks like YouTube, telling people where to go to hear fresh, forward-looking ideas and risk analysis. And the first sign that you may become deplatformed eventually, the first sign, like say YouTube removes your account, by the way, in the fourth offense. The first sign that you may become deplatformed eventually, do what society should demand as the minimum. Leave instructions and links and possibly teasers to your new locations. Don't waste your hard-earned social currency fighting the evil lawman inside the walled garden. That's his turf. You can't beat him there, right? You can't fight the law. You can't fight City Hall. City Hall is big tech in the walled garden. Don't fight them. Just leave. Just put up a forwarding address while you're still allowed to do anything and leave. It's the internet. Run a short script and relocate your entire town to a new location. You know, continuing the Old West analogy, bits on the internet are not a scarce resource. Take your social currency and leave. It's yours. Do not fall into the prisoner's dilemma with huge but corrupt networks. Why? The key word is prisoner. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe to my channel on Odyssey and other free platforms, and check out www.thetechnocratlive.com for the latest podcast hooks and schedules. Thank you so much for tuning in to this special The Technocrat Live. I'll be back to my normal show in another week or so. Choose wisely. Choose not to bother with those who are offended by sharing. Okay, I hope I delivered that with sufficient oomph. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.